My guest this week is a tribal leader, but not in quite the way you imagine. Hela Wozniak-Kay is the founder of Sister Snog, an award-winning business club for remarkable women, which is described as having a totally tribal vibe, and where members share a common sisterly vibe, which Hela calls the essence of sisterliness. After getting a degree in law and American studies and some time travelling, she then headed for the corporate playground and worked for a number of agencies in a variety of roles, from troubleshooter to director. After a decade working for another, Hela took the leap and became mistress of her own destiny. So what made her do that and take up the entrepreneurial baton? In her own words, she says, "It'll be 22 years since I closed the door on the corporate world, and 20 next year since I started Sister Snog. I feel it's about time to start telling my colourful story." I am delighted she has started here with me with Tracy. So a massive welcome, Hela.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Yes, I think today marks something, the beginning of opening up, the Jackanory of Hela and what that's all about. And it's really good because it's inspired me. I'm always making notes, but I'm going to get a book because I like to scribe as opposed to, well, I do type, but scribing is good because it gets it out. There's a really good flow. And yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure. I've been writing a book probably for 30 years, but there's always a time to start it, really, isn't there?
A few people out there that start writing these things and never keep thinking, well, I mean to finish it.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, before we get into all things sisterly, it would be great to know a bit more about you, Hela, and life before becoming an entrepreneur.
Well, yes. So you may gather from my accent that I am north of the Watford Gap, and I was born and bred in Bradford, or Bradford if you are spelled with a D, pronounced with a T if you're a true Bradfordian. Oh. So there you go. That's a litmus test to know if you really are from Bradford. And it's interesting because I grew up in a Polish family. So, my parents were first generation immigrants, and a lot of it revolved around, the church in Bradford, which was 2 streets away from the Karachi. And the Karachi is a brilliant curry house. So it's, Catholicism and curry living in harmony, just like, that's how Bradford developed, really. And then, I left when I was sort of 18. Did a bit of travel. Well, I actually went to be an au pair, even though everybody told me I wouldn't like it. I knew better, but anyway, I didn't like it. So I did come back to Bradford, and I actually had some time before I was going to university, and I got a job at Bradford Council with an amazing guy. He gave me this job and had great faith in me, called Nigel Grizzard. So I'm going to wave to Nigel, and we are still in touch today, which that's the thing about sort of being connected with people. I collect people and have done all my life, and I always like to have them. You just don't know, where they fit, and you don't have to lose touch, even though if you're not seeing them regularly. So interestingly, since lockdown, we've had a number of sisters from Oop North. I even refer to them as Northern Corner at Sister Snog, and I'm hoping that will grow. That's one of the benefits of lockdown. And then in terms of me, I've always had a couple of loves. So number one is that I am a closet florist, and I think in another world, that's what I would be doing. So I've always loved flowers, arranging them. I think it comes from my mum. It's interesting because, many years ago, you never thought that could be a way to sort of become an entrepreneur. There were so many florists that I admire now. Number two, I'm a bit of a curious cook. And I don't know if you remember Ready, Steady, Cook. You get 5 ingredients. and then you would make something. That's my kind of talent. Yes. Are you the green one or the red one? And then they would make, so curious cook. And then I brought my favorite thing with me to show you. This is my prized possession.
Is that a glue gun? No.
Yes, it is. And I love my glue gun. So I'm also a crafty crafter. So I do like to do little crafty things. And one of the things that I kind of weave, you know, what I love into what I'm doing now. So I've created, the other thing is I love charity shop shopping, and I've been doing that before it became a thing, you know, so charity, I wear mostly charity shop clothes, and even at Sister Snog when we have events and themes, you know, I make a point. So I'm very much into that, and yes, I do buy shoes, and I've created this thing called a shoe woohoo. And there is one that I prepared earlier.
That's fantastic.
There you go.
Fantastic. I honestly, anyone just listening to the podcast here, please zip over to me and you can see Hela's shoe.
Shoe woohoos. Yes, they could be a thing. The shoe woohoos. You know, every now and again, I think I'm going to. I mean, I do them, and I've woven them into Sister Snog now. So for every event that we have on the first Friday, there is a shoe woohoo that's part of the Eventbrite. You know, so I'm you know, I keep things alive, if you like. So those are a few things about, you know, about my life.
Yeah. So you've mentioned Sister Snog obviously several times there. So I'm now going to ask you to tell us a bit about how it all began. You know, did you have a light bulb moment? Was it a long-held ambition? So would you just kind of give us some insight into Sister Snog?
Well, yes, interesting. I don't know if you know that the story of Licorice All Sorts, in that whether this is an urban myth or not, let's pretend it's true. And so you can go and check your facts. Is it true or not? So the guy who was selling, you know, going around as a rep, had different flavors of sweets, and then he tripped and they all fell on the floor. And instead of just having one flavor, so that, you know, that's supposedly the birth of Licorice All Sorts. And if you like, that's the birth of Sister Snog. So Annie and I had a branding consultancy, and, you know, we did some pitching, which is kind of, you know, the beauty parade, nobody ever really wins. And we decided that we would, you know, network. So we went and joined many things, and we're talking nearly 20 years ago. And then one day we just said, wouldn't it be nice to be ladies at lunch? So we had a lunch, and there were 6 of us. And that was in February 2002. And that was the beginning of Sister Snog. And we liked it so much. Yeah. We had another one, and then another. And then what was great is people would just pitch up. And we never knew who was coming. And those days we didn't really care. And that's how it all started to develop. So it was the beginning of a snowball. And so no, there was no light bulb moment. No, it's not something we'd be thinking about forever and a day. And we kind of got on this amazing ride at the fairground and haven't got off it.
There must have been a point, Hela, where you thought we can turn this into a business.
Yes, there was. That is correct. So after doing Sister Snog for some time, and effectively it was a sales channel for us, because that's where all our business came from for our boutique branding consultancy called Snog the Agency. And after a while, because it was on the first Friday of every month, we then said we have to give it a name. So we called it Sister Snog because it fitted in with the brand, and it made us busy. And, you know, we were doing Sister Snog, Snog the Agency. However, there came a point where both businesses needed more than 50% of our time, and we had to make a decision. You know, doing a branding project, for anyone who, you know, is in that business, it does take a bit of your soul. So we had to decide, do we carry on branding for others, or do we create our own brand? And then we just thought, well, you know, let's do Sister Snog. Because it was also at a time of the last kind of, you know, dip in the economy, and things are not great, and, you know, people were jumping out of windows, and strange things were happening in the financial world, and actually branding was not top of anyone's list. But being connected, getting to know people, how do you feed? So we decided that we would, that was the light bulb moment in a way. And so that whenever that year was, I forget, but it was, everything's cyclical, isn't it? The ups and the downs. Yeah. So that's the kind of story of Sister Snog in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I have to say, I love the branding. So, you know, there will be people listening because they love branding and marketing and that kind of thing. I mean, you know, it's a bit of my background there as well. But that whole Sister Snog, the sisterly vibe, the tribe, the language you use, the culture. So you obviously started off with that, the agency. What did you call that?
That was Snog the agency.
Oh, Snog the agency. Yeah. Snog. And where did that kind of then, you know?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because there have been times when, you know, the word snog has various connotations, less so these days, because people are looking to have that point of difference, and there's all sorts of names. So because we were into communication, you know, Snog is about communication, you know, if you think about it. And we were also, from the very beginning, wanted to have something that was niche, that either attracted or repelled, but was memorable. And, you know, if you look at our logo, it's kind of, we call it cheeky, and, you know, it's sort of an N with two dots, which can be two people across the table, or yin and yang, or sometimes a Mexican mustache, you know, or a frog. It depends. It looks at all different things. And once you've established something, because we were always looking at niche, and then, you know, we've now grown used to it and people remember it. And in my view, it's not about whether you're light, not light. It's about whether you can find that point of difference. And people will either go, oh my God, I love it, or like, oh, I don't really like it. That's fine. You know, people will remember you if you have something that has a bit of standout, a bit of intrigue, a bit of disruption. And we like to think that we have all of those things, you know, but with a big, glorious bow of style and femininity.
Yeah, no, which it has. I mean, I think it's great. And definitely that language and that culture. And, you know, the fact you say that standing out. So even if people like it or don't like it, but they remember it.
That is the key.
So, Hela, my next question is, you talk on your website about warrior women and wonder women. Now, I just wondered, is that a criteria for the members you're looking for, or a shout out of encouragement? You know, because do you think people really, or women, I should say, really start out thinking about themselves like that, or is joining your tribe gives them that sense of, I'm a Wonder Woman and a warrior?
Well, that's interesting, because it's kind of part of the language, and I actually think we're all warrior women and wonder women, whether you're running a business or not. And because, you know, we have in that warriorness, you know, you protect your own, you know, that's kind of part of the female psyche, and it is part of our language. And when I think of warrior women, I think of Odysseia, and, you know, and she created an army. And the more you dig down deep, you can see that there's always a little bit slight, you know, a bit of tongue in cheek. I'm not saying if you're not a warrior woman, then you can't come to Sister Snog. It's like, yeah, let's be together. Let's feel part of something. Let's crusade. Let's not be afraid. And now I think all these businesses that are being started, everyone has a bit of warrior about them. And then on the Wonder Woman side of things, you know, to be honest, I used to love Wonder Woman, and it's totally personal, ready to fight the force of evil. And she again was part of a tribe of Amazonian women who cut off the right breast in order that they could fire their bows and arrows. I'm not a great crusader, you know, I don't have crusades. You know, my daughter says I'm a feminist, and I say I'm not, but yeah, I am or I'm not. But being a Wonder Woman and a warrior woman, you know, it's like putting this elevatory yet fun, yet, you know, you've got a story. And if you look in history, one of the members, her hubby does tours around London. You know, he's very educated and does loads of research, and he did one about all the monarchs, the female monarchs going back in history, and how they, you know, ruled the countries and what they did and how colourful they were. So Warrior Woman and Wonder Woman is, if you like, you know, a more colourful way to describe who we are at the moment. But the last event that we had before lockdown, last March, and every month we have a different theme at Sister Snog for our events, and March is obviously about womanhood and sisterhood, and the theme was Wonder Women. And the Telegraph ages ago had a magazine that was linked to that, but the dress code was the colours of Wonder Woman, and some of the sisters actually had a little bit of a cape on. So it's a way to hang, it's one of the hooks and pegs that you can use at Sister Snog. And we don't have like a massive questionnaire, although maybe we will. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
The way you write things and talk about things, I think for me, it makes me smile and it kind of energizes me. I guess my question had been, some women might feel, oh gosh, I don't see myself as a, you know, warrior woman or a Wonder Woman. You know, because a lot of women are kind of, you know, we're sort of, I don't know, we're not always so, some of us are a bit hesitant to sort of go, yeah, we'll go for it. I was going to ask you then, that moves on to, you know, it feels like there's a real culture around Sister Snog. And I know that you kind of sign yourself off as the soul of Sister Snog. So did you really, is it your sort of responsibility, and how do you feel like you're going to manage that as Sister Snog grows and you get more members? And
it's a brilliant question to ask me, because yes, I am the soul of Sister Snog, and a lot of this culture has come from, you know, it's got a bit of Hellaism about it, but I do attract people who are attracted to that. But it's kind of a strength and a weakness in one, because you know, what happens if ... and who'd have thought, you know, 15 months ago that we'd all be wearing masks when we go to the supermarket. So yes, in answer to that, now at the moment and since then, is we've started to systemize and document and guideline, you know, everything, you know, from the beginning, you know, how do we do it? And by doing this, it's really quite amazing that you forget all the steps that are involved, that's something you've been doing that comes naturally. And we've got 4 sisters who are working and have been since sort of September, October of last year with me to help grow the brand. And they've all been, you know, one of them I've known for 15 years, 12 years. You know, they know, they feel it, they know it. Yeah. And there will be, you know, a manual. And then one of them is doing the serious brand guidelines. And we've got someone who is working with me on tone of voice. And it's really quite ironic in that she's Polish and her written English is unbelievable. So I don't know if you have to be Polish to write like Hela in English. Not that I can write Polish as she writes English, but she gets it. And she wrote a great book called Brand Heroes. And that's how we met 5 years ago. Yeah. And she lives in Inverness, but she's been able to come to Sister Snog now because of what's happened. Yeah. And you know, she's helping with some of the copy for the events, because again, there's a kind of tone of voiceness. And over the time, you know, she knows, for example, you know, do not use the term ladies, because we're not, you know, we're sisters. And, you know, ladies is very sort of, I always think of Little Britain, where we are ladies on our bicyclettes, you know, when they're Victorian ladies with a moustache. Ladies is not Wonder Women or Warrior Women. You know, yeah. Hello, ladies. I find it a bit demeaning as a business term, actually, but that's me. You know, when people call you that. So, yes, we are systemizing, creating procedures, you know, writing it down so that, you know, when I go off on my round the world tour,
Oh,
one day when we can just leave the island, somebody can pick it up, and they're known as the powerhouse. They are now stepping in, doing events, working it out, because you have to sort of the legacy in order to move forward.
Totally, and like succession planning, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I sort of always encourage everyone. You've got to start with the brand. You've got to have those brand guidelines. It doesn't have to be a book, if you're a small business, but you want that essence kept and what you wanted it to be when you set it up. Otherwise, you lose it, and it's a good thing to go back to. I think when you review it as businesses grow, because sometimes things have to change. And how do you keep that culture, especially in big business?
Definitely. I mean, if you think about all the brands, some of them have got tomes that maybe are very difficult to implement. But as I say, we kind of attract people who feel it. Sister Snog is something that you feel. And years ago, when we started, we read a book which was called Evolution, The 8 Truths of Marketing to Women by Faith Popcorn and Lise Marigold. And, a lot of that still rings true. And we need to kind of replicate that for those that want to create something, not the same, but similar,
Well, you and I think we've already worked out that we had a mutual admiration for Faith Popcorn.
We did. And we do.
Yeah, totally. And
hello, Faith.
Yeah, hello, Faith. Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll be meeting her soon. I don't know when, but quite soon on the round the world trip.
She definitely has her own following and her own tribe, and we're part.
Most definitely.
I want you to share a bit more about Sister Snog. I've got here connections, communication. I know I'm not allowed to use the word networking. It's about supporting women in business. So maybe you could give us a bit more about what Sister Snog is to start with, and then I wanted to move on a bit more about, because I think that is about supporting. That's the real essence I get, women together, and what kind of support you've had in the past and how important that is, because I think sometimes people are a bit, I think I say people, I think it's men and women, we're not always very good at saying I need some support. The word help we don't want to use because it makes it sound like we're not coping or we don't know what we're doing, and of course that's not the truth of it. Sometimes we can't do it all, and like you've said, you've got support from 4 of your sisters to help pull all that branding stuff together. And in the past, I willingly go and ask support from, but a lot of people don't.
Sister Snog kind of has almost created itself, and we've had to babysit it and help along the way. And what it was for us was a channel to new business with a tell not sell strategy. So we know, if you think about everybody and their business, where your clients come from, they come from, generally, not always, because we always have to market and do various programs, but people that will generate business for you. So if and you're in the company of like minds, then the chances are, as they're out and about, they can be your cheerleaders, your ambassadors. What we don't do, because there are some places everybody does it differently. You don't come along with your bags of lotions, potions, pills, wares. Do you want to buy one of these? Do you want a postcard? Can I show you X, Y, and Z? But you have to do that over a period of time. In order for me to refer you or another, we've got to experience stuff. We've got to know more about each other. So Sister Snog is a tribe. It is tribal, hence the warrior women, the wonder women, the language, the events that we have. It's also a place that can boost your brand, your business, because every month there is a different theme, and within that theme the events reflect that. So January is a productivity and planning kind of month. This month that we're in June, I've got to remember, where are we? It's about funnels and pipelines. So the events that we have are linked to sales in a non-sales way. So yesterday once a month we have what we call a business booster, which is early in the morning, was all about third party praise. who's had third party praise, where do we get it, how can that boost your business? You know, last month was about brand hooks and pegs, so that last month was about branding and brands. So we do have well, we had live events, now we move them all online. But they are 20% of the proposition. You know, they're the framework. You know, if you're thinking about a beautiful pond in Monet's garden with all the lilies, you know, you've got to get in touch with sisters, you've got to get to know them. So for example, tomorrow, one of the sisters has arranged this trip into the wild. It's actually in Haywards Heath, but we're calling it the Wild. And a bunch are going, members and non-members, for this survival day in the rain, because I think it's raining. You know, we've had live events matter, but online, you and I have never met each other live. And yet, you know, we're bantering away, we kind of know each other, we feel it. So Sister Snog is a place that will help you transform your business. That is almost a guarantee. It won't transform your business if you don't pitch up and you don't join in, obviously. But and it sometimes takes just one person to open that door. But that's what everyone's there for. And you know, I think today connections are the golden currency. And I don't know if you know about blue zones around the world. You know, they live to be, I don't know, 100, 99. And one of the reasons they live to be so old is because they eat really good food. You know, they're not down at McDonald's because they don't have any. Sorry, McDonald's. And they live in communities. And it's Maslow's third in the hierarchy of need is a sense of belonging. So how do you grow your business? You grow it by asking, being around others. You know, they say surround yourself with those that you want to be like. You know, so if you want to rob a bank, hang out with bank robbers. And if you want to grow your business, hang out with those women that are doing it. And, you know, and particularly in the last however many months it's been, you know, we've kept going. All the events we put online. And so there is this regular, you know, we've been kind of not quite like the Titanic when they didn't go down. You know, we're still there, and it's all new. You know, new lands are on the horizon, which I find fascinating.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree with you. And I also wanted to say that I think what you guys do, or you do at Sister Snog, is you do encourage interaction. You know, I think the way you are and the culture and the way you speak and everything, it automatically does that, because for anyone listening or watching, you know, do go on the website and take a look, because it does make you smile, and that's an interaction immediately, isn't it? Kind of brightens your day, and so you kind of want to get involved. And definitely that's what happened to me, meeting you over social media, and I think that's a rarity, really. So that makes it really special. So yeah, I would encourage anyone, because I don't know how you, and women obviously, but how you kind of don't go on your website and go, you know, in a way, I want a piece of that, or I'd like to be part of that, you know, because it's kind of inspiring. I guess that's what I'm saying. You know, it encourages energy and motivation, which is brilliant. So Hela, let's get back to the support thing. So obviously I'm always interested in this, being a mentor. I mean, I've had mentoring in the past, probably something I didn't realise was happening, but you look back, don't you? You realise that certain people were really there for you, and probably some of the things they said to you, or, you know, kind of really help guide you and help you make certain decisions. And all those years in the corporate arena, and then obviously, you know, you've told the story about how you started Sister Snog, but I just wondered, from your perspective, what kind of support you've had in the past, and is that something that, you know, really helped you?
Do you mean since in the last 20 years, or in the last post-lockdown?
You can share any support you've had, really, because I'm just always intrigued, but probably more so in terms of business.
I mean, do you know what's interesting is I've never had a mentor. I don't even really know why that is. Maybe I never decided that I wanted to find one. You know, I should have done, but a proper mentor, not a coach, you know, somebody who took me under their wings and went, listen, I'm going to I'm going to save you a little bit of heartache, and we're all going to make mistakes, and you are going to make them, but I'm going to stop you from making these ones that I made, so you can make some different ones, because there is no shortcut. So I would say find a mentor, and that is somebody who who really can sort of be there in that capacity. And interestingly, I have signed up to, one of the members has got a charity called Believe, and it mentors, the next generation of leaders, girls, from young girls, sort of 14 to 21 kind of age. And there's that mentoring relationship really does work both ways, because
totally
you get something.
Yeah,
you get something in that. And I would also say, after mentor, then find a coach or coaches, because that's a different kind of relationship from mentoring. And I do have a sister who's working with us on coaching, and she's got a wonderful bedside manner, and I'm definitely right brain, not left brain. I probably need to go to a support group about figures and forms, because I don't like either of them. They make me want to cry. Please don't make me fill out that form. So I think that's it. And I think the other thing is that you can right now get so much, even if you haven't got time to read, go onto Audible or podcasts or YouTube. At the moment, I'm a bit in love with Bob Proctor, who is 84, 85. He spent, nearly 60 years studying Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Is it? I think that's there's one book that he's been reading for 60 years, obviously over and over again, not that he's a slow reader. So I think it's like, be a sponge, because I tell you what the thing that is that you don't know, and there's snippets every day. And I'm doing the Miracle Morning, and have done since January. So there are 6 things you do in the morning. You do get up at 5, but I'm an early riser, and one of them is 10 minutes reading. And I have read more books this year than I think I did in the last 2 years.
Brilliant.
And it's only and I'm reading at the moment, I'm reading one of the sisters' books. Well, I just finished another one, and it's called Have You Got a Minute? And it is hilarious. And she's in HR, written this book, which, is a little bit very tongue-in-cheek. And it's really, it is so up north, and the points of reference are unbelievable. And I've sort of, read Denise Duffield Thomas's Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. It's great. I read Ego by Mary Gregory. So what I'm saying is 10 minutes a day, you can read a lot of books in 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, it is just, sometimes it's just structuring those things in, isn't it? Because it's so easy. I haven't got time. But if you chunk it down and actually just put a limited amount of time aside, at least you are achieving that, rather than thinking, actually, I've got to sit there and do it for an hour. It's a bit like exercise, I think. You've got to go and do an hour and a half every day. No, you don't have to do that. Joe Wicks, blessing, has shown us that. You can.
Yeah, exactly.
20 minutes, and you're like, like that. But you feel like, I've achieved that. I've achieved 20 minutes. Whereas, you wouldn't. The hour and a half is just too much for everyone in a day.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm with you there. So you mentioned, obviously, the last year, 18 months, it's all been a struggle, and you've hung on in there, you said. So it obviously did impact on Sister Snog. And I just wondered if, at what point did you think, I need to make any changes, and have you made any changes? Because this is something that a lot of people are thinking about now. I know, they've probably got through it, and now they're thinking, right, okay, so what does the world look like now? Do I need to do any more to my business? Or we know it's probably not going to go back to where it was. I've just got to keep thinking forward. So how do you feel about that for Sister Snog?
Well, yes, interestingly, I kind of felt quite early on that things were never going to be as they were. And as soon as we were due to have an event on the 18th of March, which was called a business boosting breakfast. And on the 18th of March, we took out the word breakfast and called it a business booster, because it was still at that time, you just didn't get scrambled egg and, freshly squeezed orange juice and bowls of fruit and granola, unless you were bringing your own. So right at the very beginning, we didn't even blink for 2 minutes, because you could have gone, I know, let's go into hibernation until it's all over. If you go into hibernation, you're never going to come out of it, and you can't backpedal on it. So we then took that, we had these once every 2 months, they were called plum workshops. They were once every 2 months. We decided to have them once a week for 5 days initially. And now they're every Monday, because it was good for lockdown, because people had, we can still see each other. We have 15 minutes banter at the beginning so that people can, catch up. And then the flagship event, First Friday, we'd never missed a First Friday in 19 years, apart from the Beast from the East, which was that March, not a few years ago. Do you remember when it was like, oh my God, that is the only time in 19 years we cancelled the First Friday. So we carried those on. We still have the dress code, we still have the format, we still have heavenly hostesses. They're just in the tables are breakout rooms. But what happened was, about April, May-ish, we were like, we need to do something with our online cabbage. We call our website the Purple Cabbage, because it's kind of, is it a website? Is it a this? Is it a that? And so one of the members of the Powerhouse, because the Powerhouse are actually working actively, they are part of the management team now of Sister Snog. She's a Kajabi expert. So we went on to Kajabi, and that's our platform. And we're just tweaking the second version. I mean, it's never finished, is it? Your website's never finished. No. So it's, and there's, back end automations, and it allows you to be creative. We'll also, probably in about 3 months' time, be able to host courses run by sisters for whoever, because that kind of learning economy is going whoosh, boom. Even if people say, oh my God, it's saturated, it's not. Nothing's saturated. The shoe market is, not saturated, and people are still bringing out shoes, and it's like, how many shoes do you need? Well, if you're a woman, there is no answer to that, is there? So I think we've totally revolutionized our online proposition. And the big change is, when can you do face-to-face? Because I do know of somebody, who are having an event, and, will you have to cancel it? You can't commit long-term to regular events, because you don't know what's happening in the world, and that uncertainty blanket. So what can we be certain about? We can be certain about having an online, tribe with a vibe. And we can deliver on that. But the other bit, well, we have to wait and see, what happened on Monday. Well, we all thought on the 21st, it's going to be like, let's all do the conga, but we're not going to do the conga until July. So we're doing something as a result of lockdown. And I prefer the word pirouette than pivot, because pirouette is far more kind of elegant, and getting a tutu on and getting up on those lifts. If you could do that, really, when would we have gone online? I don't really know. So we've been forced to do this, and then the pre-lockdown, we know how to do events and how to manage them, but we have to see how we can manage the two. But we've now got members. We've got a member in Philadelphia, a member in New York. We've got someone in France, someone in Crete. They cannot come to live events.
No.
So, we've got to cater for both. So live events will be, we used to run something called Wonderful One-Offs, and they were wonderful and a one-off. And I think we have to go back to the wonderful one-off model for live events.
But I think for a lot of business, and I know even cultural events, particularly, I know like the Hay Festival and things like that, it was just extraordinary, because when they went online, I know, because I went on to see some of their speakers, and they were having maybe 16 to 20,000 people.
Yeah, wow.
At any one time watching a speaker. Now, they couldn't have had that many people in a tent or in a room listening to that speaker, albeit they could have videoed it and put it out. Do that live, and then you could re-watch it. So suddenly you realise that you could really broaden your audience by putting these live things online. Obviously, you need the marketing behind it and everything else, but and make sure it's easily accessible. But I just thought that was a phenomenal thing, and that really struck me in the lockdown. That particular one did, because I think it blew everyone away with the volume of people that were trying to log on and wanted to listen to these speakers live, which is just fantastic. Now, Hela, one of the most frequent questions I get, or comments from people, I should say, is that, you know, running a business, even if you're starting it up or you've been going for however many years, there are times when you can be completely overwhelmed. It's a bit like, what do I do first? Where do I turn? And I just wanted to ask you if you've ever felt like that, and if so, what's your sort of coping mechanisms for that? Every time you just
I've never been overwhelmed in my life. She said, Pinocchio. Do you know what? I live my life hyperventilating.
Or a paper bag somewhere.
No, I'm always like, oh my God, which thing shall I do first? Because sometimes, you know, when you do that square, urgent, important, not urgent, not, and I'm like, well, it's urgent and important, so it's all in that. Anyway, so the first thing is, thanks to Falguni, who's working with me, is time blocking, because I kid myself that I've actually got 48 hours in a 24-hour day. That's number one. Number two, I kid myself that task that I've said I'll do in 2 hours actually takes half a day.
Yeah.
And I am very prolific. So what I've started to do really is accept that there are actually 24 hours in the day, and I cannot be awake for 24 hours. And that when I'm not doing X, you know, that's fine. You've got to enjoy the time, live in the, you know, yes, it's a big, fat, hairy cliche, but live in the moment. And delegate is the key, because I'm a control freak. No, I know you find that difficult to believe. So trying to delegate and trust, and which goes down to the manuals, a proper briefing, because sometimes I think I've imparted the information really, really clearly, and I haven't, because I might have missed out a crucial bit. But I'm much better now at delegating, showing how it needs to be done. You know, for example, you know, our Instagram feed is run by Miss Instaboss, you know, and, you know, she kind of gets what we're looking about. It's also putting your hand up, as you've said, and saying, can you help me?
Yeah.
You know, because, and actually not everything is urgent and important. I kind of, you know, but having a diary and time blocking and setting aside time for X, Y, and Z, and actually saying no. It's a really good word. Or when do you need it by? Because too often I would be jumping to other people's fires instead of sort of working out my own. So those are for my overwhelm. Yes, as I say, we're all overwhelmed, but then, you know, it's kind of par for the course. But I don't want to, you know, I've started doing the miracle morning. You know, I'm on the bike in the morning doing exercise. I'm going to join the sea swimmers because I live near the sea, and I've been watching them for years and never got in. And I met someone on Monday who belongs. She's like, come, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get the shoes, and the you know, they wear these cool kind of camouflage sort of dry jacket things that you put on when you've been in the sea. And I think it helps your mental state, you know, that cold water thing. So I've heard. Not that I'm totally bonkers, but we're all a bit bonkers, aren't we?
I'm not far from the sea either, and it's something that I've been considering. So I thought, but I think it's quite good to sort of start now. This
Yes.
Up. And also I'm thinking of getting one of these, it's like one of the suits that they wear when they do triathlons, because you have to swim, don't they? And then they,
Yeah.
And I think they can quite often swim, and so it's not a full wetsuit, but it maybe be shorts. But I thought actually in the colder months that would be better. I've been contemplating it. When I started, I don't know. So you've now inspired me.
Well, we can compare, can't we? We can do like a note taking thing. It's like, have you been in the sea? Yes.
So now I'll have to do something about it now.
So yeah, that's how to cure your overwhelm, is go in the sea, have a really cold shower if you're not near the sea, and it will, so they say. I haven't really done it, but I believe it. I believe it.
So Hela, what is the biggest challenge you feel you face when you're setting up your own business?
Well, one challenge or 100 challenges?
Well, we don't want a litany, but I mean, I think everyone has key challenges. Some people, will say, "Oh God, it was getting funding," or some people will say, right at the beginning. I had something which is a really interesting thing. Actually, they said, I didn't even know what questions I should be asking to get the information back. So that was, really interesting, and that then probably led on to getting, talking to people and getting mentoring or advice. They said it wasn't until they were literally chatting to someone that they thought, oh yeah, that's the question I want to ask. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting is, as you're in business, everybody's key challenge is cash flow and managing that. And it doesn't matter. And also a key challenge is actually being able to put on a postage stamp what are you selling, what's your benefits, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? Figuring out what Sister Snog was about, or even then, because years and years and years ago, we joined, it was called BRE, which was like BNI, but not quite. It was a little bit more lax. And at that stage, branding wasn't quite on the agenda, as it is now. Everyone's talking about brand, personal brand, get your brand sorted out. And one of the challenges was people didn't know what branding really was within, if you were a printer, they knew what you did because you printed stuff. And if you're an accountant, they knew what you did. So this is 20 years ago. This is before Facebook. Bear in mind, I'm not a spring chicken, despite my desire to go rollerblading and swimming and all that stuff. So I think it's really figure out what you do and make sure our brand has not really changed in terms of our values. We might have tweaked them. And I think you do need to have a really, 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 get someone to make sure the eye is kept on the finances. That's always a challenge. Yeah. And also, the challenge is to know your value and be brave enough to state it and stop doing things for free.
Very good point.
We all want to, sometimes we're a bit, we just, way back then, we were kind of, if you like, a marketing agency that would do, if someone said, do you do PR? I would have said yes, even though I had no idea how to do it. The beginning, you want to do everything niche as soon as you can, I think. Be known for that thing and people will come to you. But that's all. The challenge is being brave enough to walk away.
I've always said, actually, one learning I've sort of picked up along the way, that it is actually harder to say no than it is to say yes.
Yes.
Depends on whatever level of business you're at. If you're starting to really gather momentum and things are happening, and then what happens, people come to you more and they see you and then they keep offering opportunities and you think, oh, nice, that cherry and that cherry. And you've got to be able to really be brave and say, no, I'm not ready for that yet. I need to focus on this, get this. Yeah. And then it's probably a horrible thing to say, but it used to be, let's just put that in the car park and we'll go back to it another time.
Yeah, but it's true. It is true.
Off the agenda, you're just going, we just park it over there and we like the idea, but you know what, realistically we're not ready to be doing that yet. So so good piece of advice there, thank you. So What's the future for Sister Snog? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the future is, yes, to well, obviously to be a global tribe.
Yeah.
And but the number that we're looking at is the 250 club. It's not about going global and having thousands, because you will lose the personal touch, and we are we are a self-selecting brand. We're not exclusive, nor are we inclusive. I mean, yes, you can join, but I think if ultimately someone joins and clearly we're not right for each other, it's better to sort of part company than keep going out with someone when you're not going to marry them. So I would like to have a spread, because I did work a little bit in Warsaw. I do have we've got the member in New York. She needs to have some sisters to hang out with, and everybody knows somebody who's not based in the UK. So it's kind of creating that global buzz, and then to launch courses, be a point of education for men. I mean, sisters will be the ones who are running the courses, because it's kind of like, this is their platform. It's a bit like Sister Snog will be a little bit like, Westfield, and there's all the concessions. And then so non-members can access some of that know-how and knowledge, because there's so much expertise within Sister Snog. And then obviously to launch, a fashion collection. Why not? Or, a range of homeware, or
shoes or something. What do we have?
The shoes, yes, of course. Here we go. I've got another one here. They're everywhere. Look, there's another shoe. Woohoo! How lovely is that? So it is to get to an engaged tribe, because getting people to engage with each other, and to help everyone become the star they want to be. Not everybody wants to be a superstar. Some people just want to have a better lifestyle and have more holidays, but have a great source of passive income. Whatever star you think that you want to be, that Sister Snog helps you achieve that by opening the right doors. And help to showcase the members.
Yeah,
really.
And I think what's lovely, I mean, look, we're not going to share ages here, but I do talk to a lot of women who I am going to say are over a certain age, and actually they've still got so much vitality, so much experience. In fact, I have another guest who will be going live in a few weeks' time, and she has mainly been in working for other people. She's had a foray into working for herself. She's written a book. She wants to write more books, but she's of a certain age, and she feels very much that she's still got so much to give experience wise, and we can slightly be overlooked or feel like we're somehow not quite so important or needed. And yet I think there are more and more women that they're definitely needed. And they
definitely, yeah,
energy, so much experience, creativity in any arena, and we really need to be pulling together and to showcasing them as well as every woman. So that
I agree. And I'd say that Sister Snog, we had an event not last September, obviously the one before. The theme was Silver Sisters, so it's kind of celebrating women in their 50s. Last February it was Rubies and Roses. Ruby sisters are in their 40s. Then we've got Pearl sisters, Mother of Pearl, they're in their 30s. So it's celebrating each decade within Sister Snog. Next year I will be 60. Hurrah! So we'll have another decade called Diamond Sisters. And I think the one thing I would say is, when I hit 58 last year, I'm like, well, I'm 18 again with 40 years of wisdom. My 50s is my teenage renaissance,
Fantastic. I love that. That is absolutely fantastic. You can't let that go. Again, with 40 years of wisdom. I think that is just priceless. I think everyone should think about it like that.
Exactly, because we're all still those, youthful gals. My daughter's 20, and I really sort of think that I'm younger than she is now. So that's brilliant.
So we're nearly at the end, Hela, and I've really appreciated you being with me today. It's been fantastic. I love to sort of kind of finish really with asking my guest one piece of advice that they would give to any listener out there, either, thinking about going out on their own or, even changing their career in some way. I know some people don't just give one, so I'll give you a bit of leeway there.
Yes, well, I say keep a diary. So you can do one sentence. There are these books where you can write one sentence. You can do a hard copy. You can do it with pictures. You can do it on Pinterest. You can, do it online as a Google Doc or a Canva or whatever it is. But keep a diary, and minimum of once a week. Ideally once a day. You could write one day and it's like up, down, butterflies, ice cream cone, rollerblading, swimming, shoo-woo-hoo, flowers, fun, overwhelm, whatever it might be with it. But one sentence probably, and what will happen is that will help remind you, because sometimes you think, what have I done today? What have I done this week? What have I done this month? Oh my God, it's another year has gone and you don't know what you've done. And then that diary will be the book that you can sell, and it will be your TED Talk.
Oh, fantastic piece of advice. I love that. Absolutely. Everyone's got that now. We're all going to do our one-line diary.
Yeah.
Before we say goodbye, Hela, would you just like to remind everyone how they can find out about Sister Snog?
Indeed. Well, we do have a website or a purple cabbage. In order to access the purple cabbage, it's very simple. It's sistersnog.com.
Oh.
Or go and have a dip into Sister Snog on Instagram, because that kind of does give you a feeling for, is this my tribe? Do these people, could I see myself hanging out with them? Do I feel like they're my kind of people? Because I think everyone's got to join their tribe and, find it and join it. But our tribe is not necessarily everyone else's tribe, but there is nothing better than being part of something. I'm very excited about being part of these swimming ladies, mermaids. I've called them ladies. They're called, I think it's seagulls or seabirds. Yes. I don't know them yet. And I'm sure, and I see them walking along with these parka things, which are the dry robes. Yeah. And I'm like, God, I really want one of those parkery things. And now I know what it, because I'm only 5 foot, so I maybe get a sort of teenage one, because I don't want it dragging along the floor, and I'm not going to look as cool as the others, when they've got that kind of sort of cool swagger.
You see that you'll get one of those, but you've got to go in the sea. You have to take it.
Yes, exactly. No, it's not just to go to the supermarket is it? It's to actually. I will use it. So I have to keep you posted on, and you keep me posted on, or from thinking about it to actually, doing it.
Yeah, you won't have the gear. It's like I took up sailing, and I've been sailing these wonderful sunbeams, but serious, racing sailing. And some of these boats were built in the 1920s. And I was horrified because when you have to put the spinnaker up, you have to get out on this tiny little deck, and there's nothing to hold on to, and the water's coming at you. I just couldn't do it. And then yesterday, but I've been trying to learn. And then yesterday, the guy literally took me out and said, "It's only you and I, and you're going to have to get up there and do it." And I did it. I came back and I was like,
"Yay!
Yeah,
that's fantastic!"
It's like the swimming thing.
That is truly fantastic. These are sort of, they're all little things that feel big at the time, and then you go on to the next thing and the next thing, and we've all got fear. We've all got a bit of nerves.
Good. I think they're good challenges, and these are nice things as well, and it just keeps you feeling good and that you can do it. And I just think you're right. We've got to be warrior women, and sometimes you just got to take small things, but everyone's challenge is different. But if you can just overcome them, sometimes it's small bits. And that's what I've learned, I think, chunk it down. So I didn't get in there and go, I can do it all, and then fall overboard, you know, and put off by it. I just put my hands up and said, I really don't know what I'm doing. I was just going to have to explain everything. And I've just taken my time. And it's amazing what goes in eventually. And so, but that was, for a lot of people, that would be like, what's she going on about? But for me, and it was a really big thing to get up there balancing some massive.
Oh my Lord, yeah. I'm now in awe of you doing such acrobatics on the high seas.
Now I'll be in the sea. I'll have to do.
Yeah, we'll be mermaids pretty soon.
So Hela, thank you so much for being a guest today on Tracy. It's been an absolute delight. I love it. I love talking to you every single time we chat. Everything Sister Snog stands for, and I really encourage everyone to go and take a look. And you know, yeah. Be inspired. That's what I would say. So
that's excellent. Well, thank you for inviting me.
And I'd love you to come back and tell us how it's going and how International Sister Snog is going.
I'll invite you to the fashion show.
Yes, please.
No idea how that's going to happen, but look, anything is possible, isn't it?
And I'm sure we'll see each other on the beach in our.
Exactly. Yeah. Truly.
Thank you, Hela. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I've loved it.